Hello everyone, it's NLawson with CDC Take Charge Software, and this is Lesson 5 on how to write xBasic code in Alpha software. Today our lesson is going to look at additional ways of controlling object property values using xBasic code. I know we've discussed that before, but here's a very simple method that you can see on the message or the review message form, and that's what we're going to look at. So first let's log in. And then we go to the review message form. Now let's look at the objects that are on the form. You have the for, obviously, which is filled in when the person takes the message, the date, which is a calendar object, and the time, which is a list box pulling back time values from a table we have created in the application. The from and the of are strictly type-in fields, but we're going to change those to be progressive lookups so that when you start to type, if the message taker sees a name, then they can just hit enter to select it, and it'll fill in not just a name, but the of association, saving a lot of time in data entry. Down in this section, you have the 8 different things that you can do with the message. Please call, will call again, telephone, came to see you, blah, blah, blah. When you check one, the font becomes bold. If you uncheck it, it goes back to normal text. So let's take and look at how that works. All right. Down here are the 3 different responses the person receiving the message can do. The reason you have 3 is that typically when a person calls, they'll say, try to reach me at by this method at this time, and if you can't, then reach me by this method at this time, or alternately a third method, which is plenty of opportunities for you to fill in the information needed for the person received the message to get back with the person calling. Okay, and then finally you have your little message box. So that's pretty much it. Now what we're going to focus on today is just this section with the 8 choices and how that bold and unbold works. Okay, so first let's take and close our form. We need to log out, bring up our control panel. There we go. We want to look at our new review message form on the design mode. And there's a couple things that are happening. Each of these objects are text objects. Now the radio choices are obviously something that they would check, but the text object is what's being affected. So we're going to start by looking at on enter. When you enter a new record, it takes and sets the value to the current user ID because you're entering for that person, and then it sets the different text objects, the bold to be false, so that it does not show up as bold on the form until the user selects one of the choices. Now let's take and go over here. Next we have on fetch and on initiate. On fetch, here you're going and you're looking at each of those text objects, and if it's telephoned is true, then we want it to be bold, otherwise we want it to be false. If came to see you is true, make it bold, otherwise make it false. So it's setting that value for each of those objects. It's pretty simple. Down here under urgent, urgent is a field that's actually an object that's hidden, and if they check urgent, then we want to make them both visible, one on the left and one on the right. Otherwise leave them so that they're invisible. And that's why that one's a little bit different than the ones above. On the initiate, we're just basically taking and setting the values at the bottom of the message form that tells them how many messages they have waiting. So when the form loads, it's for the user ID, and it says you have X number of messages. All pretty simple stuff. Now, the thing that has to happen when you check and uncheck a box is you want to take and on the onChange event, the code here, it's using the this, meaning the current object, if this value, so basically if the value is, if it has a value, Then you want to set the font for the associated object to bold. If it doesn't have a value, set it to false so that it's a normal text. And that's pretty much it. This is a very simple example of how to take and control object properties on a form using xBasic. So let's go out and take one more look at it, just for grins. And so we go to our message center. Once again, you get to see my lovely logo. And here we are. I'm going to log in. That's Ricky again. And then OK. Alright, so see our messages, and here they are. So if I check it, uncheck it, everything works exactly the way I said that it would. Pretty simple. Alright folks, that's it for today. I hope you find this lesson useful and stop by and see the next one. It'll be in a couple of days. Thanks a lot and have a great day.